Hey everybody, it's Mr. Furley. Just wanted to check in and say hi. Hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to do something a little bit different with this video. It's been a lot of fitness stuff that I'm putting up on the channel. I'm putting up a lot of exercise ideas at home. But I wanted to switch it up and share with you all kind of like an SEL lesson, social emotional learning. We do this sometimes in class with our second step lessons. But this one I think is really relevant to what's going on right now, to all of us. And I just wanted to share with you guys some thoughts and hopefully lift those spirits. If you're feeling down, I know I go up and down with it as well, but hopefully this can help. So I listened to a podcast last week and started to do a little bit of research after I had listened, and basically it was about a process of grieving. Now, when we talk about grieving, that usually means that we have lost something. We lost someone we love, someone we care about. But in this case, I think what I'm talking a little bit more about, or going to be talking more about, is that we've all kind of experienced a loss of a way of life that we were so used to just a few weeks ago. I mean, if you look back just 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, life was totally different than it is today. Everything that we are all experiencing right now is with the hopes of being safe and trying not to let this virus that's going on right now affect our lives in a negative way. So we're listening to the mayor, Lori Lightfoot. She's been very clear that we all stay home as much as we can. Our governor, J.B. Pritzker, he has also done lots of things to ensure public safety. And I'm really hoping that we can stay positive and work through this tough time. Now, with that said, after days and days and weeks, you'll find yourself going through an emotional roller coaster, and that's what I want to talk about today. So what I'm referring to is the 5 steps of grieving. I will quickly outline those for you, and then we'll talk about them. I will leave a link in the description to where I found this information, and I just think it provides a lot of hope, and it was helpful for me, and I hope it's helpful for you. So the doctors' names were David Kessler and Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and I hope I'm not butchering that, but these doctors, they kind of wrote some books, some literature on these different steps in the grieving process. And I think the more we can identify these and the more that we are aware of them happening in our lives, the easier it will be to cope and to move forward with everything that's happening. First step is denial. I know I was experiencing that in the early stages of this pandemic. I was saying, this is like the flu, this is kind of crazy. I don't know why everybody's overreacting so much. And that's what denial looked like for me. And it took me a while to get past that. Sometimes I still feel like I'm in denial and struggling with coping with what's actually happening. So denial is that first piece of this grieving process. And I think it's important to identify it just so that you're aware of what's going on. The second step in this grieving process that Dr. Kessler and Kubler have outlined was anger. I felt some anger, still sometimes do, just about how I can't do my job the way I used to, how I can't see my students, how I can't see my friends, my family the way that I was able to just a few weeks ago. Stores are shut down, restaurants. We're experiencing a lot of emotions right now, and it's difficult. But again, I think at least identifying these emotions and these steps in the process help us to better cope with it. Next piece that they outlined was something that was new to me, and I never really understood until I read a little bit more about it. But it was, or it's called bargaining. Bargaining is where you start to say things to yourself like, when things go back to normal, I will never do this. Or when this all passes, I will start doing this. Or I will make sure I never do that. And these are the ways that we bargain with ourselves, maybe with our friends, our family. And again, this is a very normal part of what it looks like to cope and to grieve. And again, I think the more you can identify it, the easier it will become as time passes. The next part of this process is an unfortunate one, but as unfortunate as it might be, it's still a reality. It still does happen, and that's depression. If any of you have ever seen the movie Inside Out by Pixar, that Disney movie with all the different emotional characters like joy and disgust and anger. Well, there was one character in that Pixar movie that was basically the hero at the end, and that was sadness. And what she taught us in that movie was that without sadness, without that extreme emotion, instead of just always like joy, right? How she was always trying to just make everything seem fine and be happy about everything. That's great. But sometimes it's unavoidable that we will feel sad, that we will feel low. And I think that's what that step is. Depression is all about identifying when you do feel those moments of sadness and when you do feel really low, because how are you going to overcome and accept what's going on and move on if you don't know what the opposite is, right? If you don't hit that bottom tier of the emotional spectrum to recognize depression as a part of this process and learn how to deal with it and know that it's normal. And I would say probably everybody is feeling all of these emotions. So this is something important that we need to understand. And then finally, the last step is acceptance. And this is where we really start to identify that we've gone through some of these processes, some of these stages. And again, it's not one size fits all. We don't all go through these stages at the same time. I struggle with different parts of this cycle myself, and I'm all over the place. But I think identifying it and understanding what's going on has helped me to stay positive and understand that, if you look at history, people have gone through a lot of really terrible things. And hopefully this will be something that we can all learn from. Understand that you will have some good days. You will have some bad days. Do your best to try to find things that can help occupy your mind. Try to learn a new skill. Maybe if you have a guitar laying around, try to learn that. If you have a piano laying around, if you have a recorder or a flute, if music's not your thing, start drawing. Maybe you can take up drawing. I'm sure the things that you've learned with Miss Stasic in her art class can you can dive deeper into those things. You can exercise like I've been showing everybody. There's so many things you can do and learn and set new goals. You can just read, right? Reading is a great way to learn and get into new books that maybe you always wanted to read, but you never had time. Well, now you do have some time. So all of these different things, maybe they will not replace what we had just a few weeks ago, but it can help us grow and evolve by making these new efforts and these new goals for ourselves. Hopefully nobody you care about or love out there is inflicted with this COVID-19, because that's a whole nother huge problem, right, that now has to be dealt with. And I sincerely hope that everybody is staying safe and nobody is having to deal with that. And if you are, I hope something like this can help. Obviously the doctors and the nurses, I want to give a huge shout out to them, because they are on the front line right now. They are the ones that are fighting this battle, and they're irreplaceable. They are, without them right now, this whole situation would be so much worse. So I really just want to give a shout out and thank our nurses, our doctors, our medical professionals. So if you want more information, I will leave a link in the description. I thought this was really useful, and I hope you do as well. If you have any questions or comments for me, please leave them in the comments section. I'm trying my best to stay in touch with everybody and do my part to, keep these crazy days as normal as possible. So again, I hope everybody's doing well out there. I miss you all, and I hope that we see each other again soon. Take care of yourselves and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks, guys.